Good morning, fourth grade. I'm not sure if I repeated that, but I just wanted to tell you I am going to start our read aloud, Beezus and Ramona by Beverly Cleary. So every day, or maybe twice a day, I will upload a chapter of Beezus and Ramona. So check back and let me know what you think of the read aloud and if you like the book. Beezus and Ramona by Beverly Cleary. Chapter 1, Beezus and her little sister. Beatrice Quimby's biggest problem was her little sister Ramona. Beatrice, or Beezus, as everyone had called her, because that was what Ramona had called her when she first learned to talk. Knew other 9-year-old girls who had little sisters who went to nursery school, but she did not know anyone with a little sister like Ramona. Beezus felt that the biggest problem with 4-year-old Ramona was that she was just plain exasperating. If Ramona drank lemonade through a straw, she blew into the straw as hard as she could to see what would happen. If she played with her finger paints in the front yard, she wiped her hands on the neighbor's cat. That was the exasperating sort of thing Ramona did. And then there was the way she behaved about her favorite book. It all began one afternoon after school when Beezus was sitting in her father's big chair, embroidering a laughing tea kettle on a potholder for one of her aunts for Christmas. She was trying to embroider this one neatly because she planned to give it to Aunt Beatrice, who was Mother's younger sister and Beezus's most special aunt. With gray thread, Beezus carefully outlined the steam coming from the tea kettle spout and thought about her pretty young aunt, who was also so happy and so understanding. No wonder she was Mother's favorite sister. Beezus hoped to be exactly like Aunt Beatrice when she grew up. She wanted to be a fourth grade teacher and drive a yellow convertible and live in an apartment house with an elevator and a buzzer that opened the front door. Because she was named after Aunt Beatrice, Beezus felt she might be like her in other ways too. While Beezus was sewing, Ramona, holding a mouth organ in her teeth, was riding around the living room on her tricycle. Since she needed both hands to steer the tricycle, she could blow in and out only on one note. This made the harmonica sound as if it were groaning, "Oh dear, over and over again. Beezus tried to pay no attention. She tied a small knot in the end of a piece of red thread to embroider the tea kettle's laughing mouth. Conceal a knot as you would a secret, Grandmother always said. Inhaling and exhaling into her mouth organ, Ramona closed her eyes and tried to pedal around the coffee table without looking. I can only imagine where this is going. Do you think you are more like Beezus, kind of studious? Or do you think you're like Ramona? You just want to have fun, especially now that you've been inside for so long. What do you think? I don't know. I could see my kids being a little bit of both. I don't think they're just one way or the other. As for me, I was probably always more like Beatrice, to be honest with you. Ramona! Cried Beezus. Watch where you're going. When Ramona crashed into the coffee table, she opened her eyes again. Oh dear, moaned the harmonica. Around and around pedaled Ramona, inhaling and exhaling. Beezus looked up from her potholder. Ramona, why don't you play with Bendix for a while? Bendix was Ramona's favorite doll. Ramona thought Bendix was the most beautiful name in the world. Ramona took the harmonica out of her mouth. No, she said, read my Scoopy book to me. Oh, Ramona, not Scoopy, protested Beezus. We've read Scoopy so many times. Instead of answering, Ramona put her harmonica between her teeth again and pedaled around the room, inhaling and exhaling. Beezus had to lift up her feet every time Ramona rode by. The knot in Beezus's thread pulled through the material of her potholder, and she gave up trying to conceal it as she would a secret, and tied a bigger knot. Finally, tired of trying to keep her feet out of Ramona's way, she put down her embroidery. All right, Ramona, she said, if I read about Scoopy, will you stop riding your tricycle around the living room and making so much noise? Yes, said Ramona, and climbed off her tricycle. She ran into the bedroom she shared with Beezus and returned with a battered, dog-eared, sticky book, which she handed to Beezus. Then she climbed into the big chair beside Beezus, and waited expectantly. Reflecting that Ramona always managed to get her own way, Beezus gingerly took the book and looked at it with a feeling of great dislike. It was called The Littlest Steam Shovel. On the corner was a picture of a steam shovel with big tears coming out of its eyes. How could a steam shovel have eyes? Beezus thought, and scarcely looking at the words, began for what seemed like the 100th or maybe the 1,000th time. Once there was a little steam shovel named Scoopy. One day Scoopy said, "I do not want to be a steam shovel. I want to be a bulldozer." I'm trying to show the pages. I'm not sure how the pictures are turning out over the video. "You skipped," interrupted Ramona. "No, I didn't," said Beezus. "Yes, you did," insisted Ramona. "You're supposed to say, 'I want to be a big bulldozer.'" "Oh, all right," said Beezus crossly. "I want to be a big bulldozer." Ramona smiled contentedly, and Beezus continued reading. "Grrr," said Scoopy, doing his best to sound like a bulldozer. Beezus read on through Scoopy's failure to be a bulldozer. She read about Scoopy's wanting to be a trolley bus. "Beep, beep," honked Ramona. "A locomotive. Ha-ooey, ha-ooey," wailed Ramona. "And a pile driver. Clunk, clunk," shouted Ramona. Beezus was glad when she finally reached the end of the story, and Scoopy learned it was best for little steam shovels to be steam shovels. "There," she said with relief, and closed the book. She always felt foolish trying to make noises like machinery. "Clunk, clunk," yelled Ramona, jumping down from the chair. She pulled her harmonica out of the pocket of her overalls and climbed on her tricycle. Oh dear, she inhaled and exhaled. Ramona cried Beezus. "You promised you'd stop if I read Scoopy to you." "I did stop," said Ramona, when she had taken the harmonica out of her mouth. "Now read it again." "Ramona Geraldine Quimby," Beezus began and stopped. It was useless to argue with Ramona. She wouldn't pay any attention. "Why do you like that story anyway?" Beezus asked. "Steam shovels can't talk, and I feel silly trying to make all those sounds." "I don't," said Ramona, and wailed, "Ah-hooey, ah-hooey," with great feeling before she put her harmonica back in her mouth. Beezus watched her little sister pedal furiously around the living room, inhaling and exhaling. Why did she have to like a book about steam shovel anyway? Girls weren't supposed to like machinery. Why couldn't she like something quiet, like Peter Rabbit? Mother, who had bought the littlest steam shovel at the supermarket to keep Ramona quiet while she shopped one afternoon, was so tired of Scoopy that she always managed to be too busy to read to Ramona. Father came right out and said he was fed up with frustrated steam shovels and he would not read that book to Ramona, and furthermore, no one else was to read it to her while he was in the house. And that was that. So only Beezus was left to read Scoopy to Ramona. Plainly, something had to be done, and it was up to Beezus to do it. I wonder what she's going to do. Do you have an idea? Predict. Talk to somebody in the house. I'll wait a minute. You can pause the video, too, if you have more to say. Okay. But what? Arguing with Ramona was a waste of time. So what was appealing to her better nature? The best thing to do with Ramona, Beezus had learned, was to think up something to take the place of whatever her mind was fixed upon. And what could take the place of the littlest steam shovel? Another book, of course, a better book. And the place to find it was certainly the library. "Ramona, how would you like me to take you to the library to find a different book?" Beezus asked. She really enjoyed taking Ramona places, which, of course, was quite different from wanting to go someplace herself and having Ramona insist on tagging along. For a moment, Ramona was undecided. Plainly, she was torn between wanting the littlest steam shovel read aloud again and the pleasure of going out with Beezus. "Okay," she agreed at last. "Get your sweater while I tell Mother," said Beezus. "Clunk, clunk," shouted Ramona happily. When Ramona appeared with her sweater, Beezus stared at her in dismay. "Oh no," she thought. "She can't wear those to the library." On her head, Ramona wore a circle of cardboard, with 2 long paper ears attached. The insides of the ears were colored with pink crayon. Ramona's work at nursery school. "I'm the Easter Bunny," announced Ramona. "Mother," wailed Beezus, "you aren't going to let her wear those awful ears to the library." "Why, I don't see why not." Mother sounded surprised that Beezus should object to Ramona's ears. "They look so silly. Who ever heard of an Easter bunny in September?" Beezus complained as Ramona hopped up and down to make her ears flop. And here's Ramona jumping up and down. "I just hope we don't meet anybody we know," Beezus thought as they started out the door. But the girls had no sooner left the house when they saw Mrs. Wisser, a lady who lived in the next block, coming toward them with a friend. It was too late to turn back. Mrs. Wisser had seen them and was waving. "Why, hello there, Beatrice," Mrs. Wisser said when they met. "I see you have a dear little bunny with you today." Yes." Beezus didn't know what else to say. Ramona obligingly hopped up and down to make her ears flop. Mrs. Wisser said to her friend, as if Beezus and Ramona couldn't hear, "Isn't she adorable?" Both children knew who Mrs. Wisser was talking about. If she had been talking about Beezus, she would have said something quite different. Such a nice girl, probably. A sweet child, perhaps. Adorable? Never. "Just look at those eyes," said Mrs. Wisser. Ramona beamed. She knew whose eyes they were talking about. Beezus knew too, but she didn't care. Mother said blue eyes were just as pretty as brown. Mrs. Wisser leaned over to Ramona. "What color are your eyes, sweetheart?" she asked. "Brown and white," said Ramona promptly. "Brown and white eyes!" exclaimed the friend. "Isn't that cunning?" Beezus had thought it was cunning the first time she heard Ramona say it about a year ago. Okay, that's where we're going to stop. We read to page 18. Tomorrow we'll start on page 19. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.